Hello everyone and welcome to Future Sketch, the energy update for August 2023. My name is Chris Bro, I'm an energy healer and intuitive, and every month I try and provide a little bit of insight into the incoming energies for the upcoming month, as well as some strategies for navigating those energies. So let's dive right in. So a major theme for this month is going to be around positive shifts. And this doesn't mean that this month is going to be like a golden month where everything falls into place and everything is happy and joyful. It just means that there's a shift in the direction of the energy that's coming in. And in this whole, especially these past few months, what I was feeling and what was showing up was this harmonization of the alchemical process, both within the collective experience and the experiences of us as individuals. And so a little bit of background into the process of alchemy. There are four stages in the alchemical process. The first stage being the Negrito, the second stage the Albedo, the third stage the Citronitis, and the final stage is the Rubedo. And these stages and phases kind of cycle in and out in that order, particularly within our own experiences and within the expansion of our consciousness. So where we are right now and where we have been in these past few months is this process of the Negrito, or the blackening. It's a time of deep shadow and a descent into the unconscious and the shadows that are there. And so the Negrito is described as a blackness blacker than black, and so it's really that ultimate descent into the shadow. And then what we are now, this shift in the positive energy, is us transitioning from the Negrito to the Albedo. And the Albedo it refers to a whitening of the experience where through our darkness we begin to see the light. So we've reached the depths of our shadow and of our subconscious, and now what we begin to see is the light at the end, and so we begin to come up from that descent. And during this time, it's a highly receiving time, and which is why there's not much we're gonna find that we can do per se, other than just be within and observe, because it's a highly feminine time for us in the illumination and clarification of our emotions. And this is where, in the process of alchemy, we're turning lead, the shadow, we're turning lead into silver. So it's very much controlled by those lunar energies. And so for this month, we sort of see that energy where we've reached the bottom in the depths of our experience, the furthest within the separation that we can go. And now we're beginning to come back up. So the first of the minor themes is going to be the shifting of power through grief. And this part of the reading brought with it the image of the death of the king. And in the alchemical process, we have that as sort of an archetype within the alchemical process is the death of the old king, where the old king must die in order for the new king to rise and ascend to power and leadership. And what the king represents within that is our ruling ideologies and the beliefs that lead us within our experience of reality. And so, looking back, what we saw in our months prior was the letting go and the experience of those old ideologies surfacing and resurfacing, so that we could recognize that they were no longer needed. And so we're sort of again moving away and separating from those ideas. And so something that came through in regards to the king and the death of the king and what that means was that the death of the king brings grief for the kingdom, but sovereignty for the people. So losing that leadership, that external leadership, brings us inward so that we find authority within ourselves. And that was something that's been showing up for us in our awareness and in the readings for prior months. So what we might see is more disconnect, more failed leadership, more signs just bringing us inward, and it's to a place where we're forced to recognize that no one can save us, that we must save ourselves, and so fostering and facilitating the growth of that independence in authority that guides us. And so the next theme, minor theme for this month, is in regards to a renewed balance. And this is really focusing on mainly our reactions to things and the way that we look at our experiences and see the energies that are working to create that experience. It's almost a reset of our reactions, and this is all taking place again because of that transition into this second stage of the alchemical process, transitioning into the albedo, where we begin to understand and see those shadows in a different light, within the light, not just the darkness. So what we may find, and what this may feel like, is sort of paradoxical to the way it sounds, because balance in the midst of imbalance feels unbalanced, and justice in the midst of injustice feels unjust. And so what we'll see is that when we experience this new balance, or this new fresh experience where things seem to go right, we don't know how to react because everything has been going wrong up until that point. So it's again calling us to pause and almost observe how we're reacting and where that might be inappropriate. Because before, when we were in the Negrito, in that place of shadow, the way that we perceived the events that we experience were under this veil of illusion that's now being sort of lifted through the process of illumination that takes place in the albedo, or the polishing of that experience, to find the silver underneath. But it truly is an invitation for us to reflect on our reactions and our experiences, to regain that balance. So the third minor theme that was presented for us is about shifting hearts, and the shifting within our hearts that's beginning to shift the world. And so within each of us, we're reaching the bottom of this current cycle. Again, both collectively and individually, the bottom and the depths of our shadow and our consciousness. And when we get there becomes this moment and this sort of the beginning of this time of illumination, and we begin to see an influx of the heart energy, where we begin to find more love, find more forgiveness, more acceptance, and more light on the horizon. And with that, more of an understanding in the experiences we are going through. So that's going to begin to create shifts on a global scale, and even not necessarily that big, but even within our own worlds, within our own family dynamics and relationships, within our work environments, these new realizations and the shifting of our heart away from one that sees us separated from those experiences to one that's beginning to surrender and fall into them in order for us to understand where they're coming from and their purpose. And so this next piece of wisdom that was offered, or a minor theme for August, is a shift in how we are able to help each other and how we're able to receive help. So in the past months, we found that we weren't able to really provide the help for other people the way that they were asking for it, or even from the other side of that perspective too, the help that we asked for wasn't meeting our expectations either. And this is coming from an experience of the definition and of our empowerment and our abilities, and so defining that within each of us. And so we have to look at the definition of what's coming in with these two words. The definition of help being, if I can't do it, I have someone do it for me. And assistance being that someone else is assisting me in completing that, where I'm actively participating at the same time. And so what we'll see this month is a shift in how we're able to help and assist other people and how they're able to help and assist us. So we must take responsibility for the work and lead the direction of what we intend to change. So it's sort of a renewed, whereas before we were separating from those channels that we associated as part of our support, to now re-entering into relationships and community that can help assist and uplift us. But it's not one that does it for us. It's one that sort of helps us to see our own power, our own gifts, our own abilities, and where we can fit into the equation of changing the reality that is. So now we'll go over a few strategies for navigating the month of August. And for the strategies that were offered, it's really important for us to recognize that even though we're shifting energies, we're still in almost the same quality, where this is a very much receiving time for us, very much an inspiration. And so a feminine time for us, and a time for us to cultivate that feminine energy of allowing and receiving and observing. So the first strategy was just asking us to hold and practice that discovery mindset, that sense of exploration, in a recognition that we don't know where our experiences are going to take us, but that we need to trust them, and we need to trust the path, and we need to also be focused and mindful in our present moment, in observation of what's before us. What is the work that I need to do today? And so taking just that one step at a time and not trying to rush the process. And the second strategy that was offered for us is just an invitation to make time for reconciliation, to take the time to say goodbye, metaphorically, to the things that we're letting go, or even physically, to make peace with any changes that are occurring, and to, just a reminder that, again, we can't rush this process, because if we try to rush our movement through to the other side of this experience, the other side of this cycle, then inevitably we'll have to return to the things that we left unattended. So we need to take that time to be present, to grieve, to mourn any losses that we may be experiencing, and have that time to come to peace. And the third strategy that was offered for us was just to listen to our hearts, to listen take the time to listen to your heart, to hear the voice of your soul, of your calling. Again, this is a time of feminine energy, a time for receiving insight. So we have to take the time to tune in and connect to our hearts, to hear the voice of our souls guiding us and leading us forward. And so the last strategy that was offered for us is just asking us to maintain our vibration, to really look at things with that deep patience, so that we can enter the place of timelessness where anything is possible, where these changes that we're working through are integrated into our being, and they don't bring us back around to the same lessons at another time, so that we can really integrate that energy and move it forward instead of say 2 steps forward and 1 step back. We can continuously move forward, but it is a reminder as well that it's not that this is not an immediate process, that we can't rush what's going on, that we have to again maintain that level of patience, but in doing so at the same time maintaining our vibration, so that our frequency doesn't drop in the midst of the shadow that's being let go of. So thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and leave a comment down below on how these energies are showing up for you. I think this month is going to be a relatively positive one for us, simply because we're turning that corner. It's to a time of renewed illumination and polishing of our experience, and seeing it for what it truly is, as a mirror reflected back to us. So again, thank you all, and most importantly, thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey.